Chapter 2 Part 5. The kiss wasn't gentle. It wasn't sweet. It was a collision, lips meeting with bruising force, teeth scraping, a desperate, shared gasp swallowed by the other. It tasted of rain, salt spray, adrenaline, and the acrid tang of terror that had clung to them since Split Rock. Angela didn't know who moved first. One moment, she was vibrating with the aftershock of Ben's voice, her mother's peril, the sheer audacity of their forged attack. The next, Anthony's hands were tangled in her damp hair, pulling her against him, his mouth claiming hers with a ferocity that stripped away pretense, refinement, and the suffocating weight of Eleanor's shadow. It was anger. It was terror. It was the explosive release of weeks of bottled fury and the terrifying vulnerability they'd glimpsed in each other. It was the only language left that didn't feel like a lie. Angela kissed him back with equal fierceness, her fingers digging into the sodden fabric of his shirt, anchoring herself against the storm inside and out. The plastic case containing Ben's truth lay forgotten on the motel carpet. When they finally broke apart, gasping for breath, foreheads pressed together in the dim light, the silence roared louder than the rain. Anthony's eyes, wide and stunned, searched hers, the ice-blue depths churning with chaotic, unfamiliar currents. Angela's heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drum against the sudden, terrifying intimacy. No words, just the ragged sound of their breathing, the echo of the kiss, and the dawning realization of the chasm they'd just leapt across. Anthony jerked back as if burned, releasing her, his hands trembling. He turned away, running a shaky hand through his rain-plastered hair. "That shouldn't have happened," he rasped, his voice raw. Angela touched her swollen lips, the ghost of his touch still burning. "Why did it?" she whispered, the question hanging heavy, dangerous. Before he could answer, if he even had one, Anthony's regular phone buzzed violently on the nightstand. Not the burner. His Crestwood phone. Liam Carter's name flashed on the screen like a warning flare. Anthony stared at it, his expression hardening back into the mask of icy control, though a muscle twitched violently in his jaw. He snatched it up. "Carter." His voice was clipped, perfectly composed, betraying nothing of the chaos moments before. Angela couldn't hear Liam's words, only the furious, tinny crackle of his voice through the receiver. Anthony listened, his face impassive, but his knuckles whitened around the phone. "Interesting accusation, Liam," Anthony said coolly, interrupting the tirade. "My mother's investigators are thorough. If they found evidence linking your father to Benjamin's unfortunate delusions, that's a matter for the Foundation Board, not hallway gossip." He paused, listening again, his eyes flicking towards Angela, a flicker of something unreadable in them. "My personal life is irrelevant to your father's financial irregularities. And Angela Mitchell's character is beyond reproach. She's assisting the Foundation with community outreach. Something your family might consider, given the current scrutiny." He delivered the barb with surgical precision. "Good luck with the disciplinary hearing. I'm sure your lawyer is billing by the hour." He ended the call without waiting for reply, tossing the phone back onto the nightstand like it was contaminated. He turned to Angela, the mask firmly back in place, but his eyes held a grim satisfaction. She took the bait. Hook, line, and sinker. Eleanor went public with the evidence against Richard Carter an hour ago. Board emergency session. Liam's been suspended from the soccer team pending internal review. His father scrambling. Eleanor's diverted. Relief ward with a new wave of anxiety. It had worked. The trap had sprung. But Liam's fury was palpable, even over the phone. "He threatened you?" Angela asked. Anthony's lip curled. "He implied certain things about you. About us. Said he had friends who'd make sure Harbor's End remembered its place." He met her gaze. "He's cornered. Dangerous. But predictable. He'll lash out. We need to be ready." Before Angela could process the new threat, the burner phone vibrated on the scarred table. Megan's designated number. Angela lunged for it, Anthony close behind. "Megan." Cedar Hollow reached. "Mom's safe. Place is creepy. Like abandoned science lab meets haunted cabin. But secure. Weirdest thing. Found an old journal tucked under a floorboard in the main room. Not Ben's. Initials RM, filled with botanical sketches and angry rants about Eleanor." "Who's RM?" Anthony froze. "RM," he breathed, the color draining from his face. "Robert Moretti. My grandfather." Angela remembered Eleanor's icy words. Assets my grandfather squirreled away. What kind of rants? Anthony snatched the burner, typing rapidly. Do not read aloud. Scan and send pages re. Eleanor and Vitalix. Urgent. Minutes crawled by, filled with tense silence. The rain drummed on the motel roof. Finally, the burner buzzed. Images came through, scans of brittle, handwritten pages. Angela crowded next to Anthony, looking over his shoulder as he zoomed in. The sketches were exquisite. Ferns, mosses, rare fungi native to the Olympics. But the text, Robert Moretti's handwriting, was a furious scrawl. Eleanor's ambition is a cancer. She's gutting the Foundation's true purpose, conservation, research, for vanity projects. This Vitalix partnership is insanity. Pushing through approvals without proper trials. She's bought off the oversight board, silenced dissenters. Confronted her today. Told her Vitalix's early cardiac risk data is alarming. Suppressed by the pharma company. She laughed. Said, acceptable losses for market dominance. Said sentimentality has no place in building an empire. This is my life's work. My father's legacy. She's turning it into a tomb. She knows I found the suppressed reports. Threatened me. Subtly, of course. Accidents happen in the woods, Robert. My own daughter. God help Benjamin. She'll warp him too. The last entry was dated 2 weeks before Robert Moretti's fatal hiking accident. Anthony's hand shook as he held the burner. He knew. Years before Ben. He knew about the cardiac risks. He tried to stop her. He looked at Angela, his eyes wide with horrified realization. His accident it wasn't. The implications were staggering. Eleanor hadn't just covered up a failing drug trial. She'd potentially murdered her own father to protect it, setting the stage for the lethal fraud Ben later uncovered. The pattern was horrifyingly clear. Eliminate anyone who threatened the empire. The burner buzzed again. A new message from Megan. Megan, weird signal out here, but just got a garbled voicemail forwarded? Deep voice. Said. The package is delivered. The gardener prunes tonight. She's here. Anthony's blood ran cold. That's not our code. That's Eleanor's. He recognized the phrasing from overheard Foundation security briefings. The gardener prunes meant eliminate loose ends. She's here, it meant Eleanor herself was moving. But where? Against whom? His Crestwood phone buzzed again. Not Liam. An unknown number. He answered, putting it on speaker. A cold, digitally altered voice filled the motel room. Anthony, your Harbor's End project has developed complications. Unforeseen variables. The gardener requires immediate access to the primary root structure. Location, Cedar Hollow. Cleanup must be thorough. Do you require assistance, or shall we proceed independently? Eleanor, issuing an execution order. Against Angela's mother. Against Megan. At Cedar Hollow. She knew they were there. She knew everything. Their diversion with Carter hadn't bought enough time. She was cutting off the loose ends at the source. Anthony's eyes met Angela's, mirroring her abject terror. The kiss, the revelation about his grandfather, the fragile alliance, it all collapsed under the crushing weight of Eleanor's ultimatum. The monster wasn't distracted. She was multi-threaded, ruthless, and closing in on their sanctuary. Angela grabbed Anthony's arm, her voice a raw whisper. We have to go. Now. Anthony was already moving, snatching the plastic case, the laptop, the burner. The rover. We're closer than her team. Maybe we can intercept. His voice held no hope, only desperate resolve. The air was gone. The boy fighting for his brother's truth, for the lives of the people he'd dragged into the fire, remained. They burst out of the motel room into the lashing rain, the plastic case holding Ben's voice and Robert's damning journal clutched like a shield. The war hadn't just escalated. Eleanor had brought it to their doorstep. Cedar Hollow wasn't a refuge. It was a killing ground.